You know when you're watching TV and that ad for some new medication comes on? You've got the sunny field, the happy, smiling people, followed by that super fast list of side effects. We see it constantly. But have you ever stopped to wonder, what are the actual rules for these ads? Well, today, we're going to dig into the original blueprint for ethical drug promotion, a set of guidelines from all the way back in 1988 that, believe it or not, still shapes every single drug ad you and I see.
It really all boils down to this one simple question. Is that ad trying to help you, or is it trying to sell something to you? It sounds easy, right? But the answer is so complicated that it's the very reason these global guidelines were created in the first place.
So the heart of the whole issue is this fundamental conflict, this kind of tug of war between the goals of drug promotion and the goals of what we call the rational use of medicine. You'd think they'd be on the same page, but their motivations are often pulling in completely opposite directions.
Okay, so first things first, we need a clear definition. Way back in '88, the World Health Organization defined promotion as all informational and persuasive activities. And the key word they used there is induce, as in to persuade you, to convince you, to ask for and use a specific drug. It's a really broad definition.
And here's where you can really see that tension in black and white. The goal of promotion? It's commercial. It's about selling a product. But the goal of rational use? That's medical. It's about improving your health. The WHO saw that without some clear guardrails, the drive for profit could just completely steamroll the actual needs of patient care. So faced with this conflict, the global health community decided, okay, we have to do something. They didn't just point out the problem, they actually built a solution, a really comprehensive ethical blueprint. Let's take a look at how it all came together.
The year was 1988. In May, the World Health Assembly, which is basically the WHO's main decision-making body, officially adopted a global set of ethical criteria for medicinal drug promotion. Now, this wasn't just some friendly suggestion. This was a landmark moment that set a totally new standard for the entire world. This, right here, this was their North Star. It was the one single guiding principle for every single rule that followed. The point wasn't to crush business or stop advertising. It was to make sure that patient health, your health, always comes first. Basically, promotion needs to serve healthcare, not the other way around.
And they made it crystal clear, this wasn't just a rule book for drug companies. I mean, look at this list. It's a call to action for the entire system. Governments who make the laws, doctors who write the prescriptions, ad agencies creating the campaigns, even the media that reports on health. Everybody had a part to play.
All right, let's get into the part we're all most familiar with, the ads themselves. The WHO laid out some super specific ground rules for what you can and definitely cannot say when you're marketing a drug.
This is the absolute bedrock of the entire document. Every single claim has to meet these 6 standards. It can't be misleading, it can't hide key information, and you can't just say a drug is safe without explaining what that actually means. The bottom line is simple. It has to be honest and it has to be balanced.
Now, what's really smart is that the rules recognize that you can't just have one-size-fits-all advertising. An ad for a doctor needs to be like a scientific brief. It's got to be packed with data so they can make a complex medical decision. But an ad for the public? Well, that has a totally different job. Its goal is to inform you without overwhelming you. And this is critical, without using fear tactics or targeting vulnerable groups, especially kids.
But remember that definition of promotion we looked at? It's way broader than just TV commercials and magazine ads. The WHO knew that some of the most powerful and effective promotion happens totally behind the scenes.
This sentence right here is one of the most powerful lines in the entire document. An inducement is basically a gift or a payment to influence a doctor's decision. And the WHO's stance is totally unequivocal. You can't do it. A prescription should be based on medical need, period, not on some financial perk.
And that, of course, leads to a question a lot of us have probably thought about. A free sample seems helpful, right? But could it also be seen as one of those inducements? Well, the WHO criteria get very specific on this.
So here's the distinction they made. For doctors, getting modest samples is generally okay. It lets them check out a new medicine. But for the general public, the WHO was very skeptical. They said it was difficult to justify from a health perspective. They basically saw giving free samples directly to the public as a form of promotion that needed to be handled with extreme care.
So what about the medical reps, the people who actually visit doctors' offices? The blueprint sets some pretty high standards for them too. They have to be knowledgeable and they have to give unbiased information. But this last one is probably the most important. Their main salary shouldn't be a direct commission on how much they sell. That was a rule designed to take the pressure off of over-promoting.
And finally, even educational events have rules. If a drug company sponsors a medical conference, that sponsorship has to be stated clearly right up front. Any hospitality, meals or entertainment has to be modest and has to be secondary to the science. Basically, you can't throw a lavish party and just disguise it as a scientific meeting.
So we've seen the rules for ads, for samples, for sales reps, for events, the whole shebang. But what really makes this document from 1988 so powerful is its intended reach and how it has tried to stay relevant over all this time.
This part really shows the document's global ambition. The WHO was so clear on this. Ethics don't stop at the border. The exact same rules for a drug sold in its home country have to apply when it's exported somewhere else. It was meant to be one single, universal standard for ethical promotion for everyone.
And this brings us right up to today and our final thought. This blueprint was written before the internet as we know it, before social media, before health influencers, before targeted digital ads. So the big question for us now is, can these foundational principles, truthfulness, balance, and putting health first, can they still guide us in this incredibly new, complex digital world? It's definitely something to think about the next time a drug ad pops up in your feed.